talk a little bit about this whole need for 200,000 truckers by the end of this year, and perhaps an additional 200,000 they're anticipating. Now, these are all guesstimates. John Hausladen from the Minnesota Truckers Association joins me, Trucking Association joins me on the line this evening. John, thanks for being on. I appreciate your letting me cut into some of your family time, your at-home time this evening.
Yes, good evening, John.
So you saw this article from CNN. It was in their money section at cnnmoney.com. What do you make of this? 200,000 drivers? Does that sound really to make sense by the end of this year?
That's a big number. I don't know if 200,000 is right, but what I can tell you is there is an increasing need for truck drivers in the marketplace today. The economy is starting to bounce back, and we need to move that freight, and we need the drivers to do it.
All right, well, one of the things in this story said the median pay is, they had it at $37,700. That was as of, they're going by last year's stats, but $37,700. And I would have to guess that for somebody who's out of work, maybe they were laid off from their accounting job or whatever, or some of the consolidations or whatever. That's not a bad wage, is it? And what can it be? I imagine you don't start at that kind of money.
Well, I think the thing to remember about a truck driving job, of course, is that you can live anywhere in Minnesota and have that job. You don't have to live in the metro. In fact, jobs like this bring a good income back to rural Minnesota because the motor carrier they may drive for is in the metro. But it can be good money. But I think the thing to remember is truck driving is a demanding job. It's an important job. And so you have to take it seriously. You have to be committed to safety. And frankly, not just anybody can do it, but if you have the chops, there is an opportunity.
All right, well, here's the deal. We see these advertisements. I don't know if it still exists, for the truck driving school in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. We've got I think what you could tell me of it, the Dakota Vocational Technical College has got a truck driving course that gets somebody towards that licensing classification. Is this a good way to go about getting into this business?
Well, you need to get training somehow, absolutely, and there are a number of good programs through the vocational technical program, the school system out there in Minnesota, but fundamentally, you need to find a motor carrier, trucking company that, wants to help you become a good driver, because virtually any school gets you foundational skills, but I tell you, life on the road is more demanding and complicated than what you learn in school. So you need to have a trucking company that's going to help you finish off that training. And frankly, insurance companies have a lot to say. If you don't have a good driving record in your own personal car, if you've had DWIs or anything like that, you're not going to be looked at very highly. But if you've got a good, clean record, you've got a good work ethic, you're willing to go through some training, the industry is going to need more drivers, so we need to continue to find ways to get them into that feeder system.
John Hausladen, my guest, you know him from the Minnesota Trucking Association. And interesting enough, I once heard somebody say, and I just kind of rolled my eyes, they said, virtually everything that we have is connected to a truck somehow. And I stopped and thought about that statement, and I thought, I cannot find one thing, that I touch that was probably not handled by somebody and on a truck at one time or another.
Well, that's right, John. We have an old saying, if you got it, a truck brought it, and it is so true. In fact, people don't realize in Minnesota, we're a big state. We have a lot of communities all around. Nearly 7 out of 10 rely on trucking for everything that moves in and out of that town. So if you didn't have trucking, you wouldn't have the school books, the medical supplies, the food, and then, of course, we have to haul all the stuff out that they manufacture and make. So without trucking, America would stop, and without truck drivers, trucking would stop. So it's a critically important job.
And it's a place with a growth industry. 400,000 truckers added perhaps over the next couple of years, couple of plus years. It's a different job for a different type of people. One of those people who's made an art of it is Dwayne Foreman, who back-to-back, he is a repeat winner as the Minnesota Grand Champion for the Truck Driver of the Year in Minnesota. Is that a good way to put it there, John Hausladen?
Well, Dwayne won the state truck driving championship just yesterday, and I tell you, to win it back-to-back is amazing because this isn't NASCAR, okay? They're not bumping and grinding there. This is skill. And if you've ever seen anyone parallel park a 53-foot trailer within inches and not touch the cone or the curb, it's amazing. I mean, try doing that with a minivan.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, listen, it's like that's why I'm driving around the lot looking for the pull-through spot, John. But I had a chance to meet Dwayne Foreman last year after his win, and actually had a chance to get into one of those trucks. It was our friends at, was it TA? Is that where the trucks came from?
That's right, Transport America.
Transport America down there on Highway 13 in Yankee Doodle, and one of their trainers and a couple of their drivers took us over and put us through the paces, and pretty darned interesting. And as I said before, John, I have the ultimate respect for these people who do this, and I know that every now and then somebody gets a bee in their bonnet and has got some complaint story about some trucker somewhere doing something, untoward, but I can't even imagine how many trucks we have on this nation's highways, how many people there are that are professional drivers. Is there a number like that anywhere?
Well, there are about 2 million professional drivers out on the road nationally at any given time. So, I mean, that's a huge number serving the economy. And I think you're right. Okay, there's going to be a rare occurrence where a truck driver isn't doing a good job, but by and large, they're doing a great job. The safety numbers show that we're reducing crashes, and it's because people like Dwayne. I tell you, when you were there last year, John, YRC, just as a company, they take drivers and will actually take a group of drivers in a van, and they'll drive down the road, and as a group, they will do continual training talking about what do they see, what should they be looking for. That's just that ongoing training that a professional really undergoes.
And so even Dwayne, as a champion, probably goes through this continued training and this awareness, these things that go with this.
Oh, absolutely, because you cannot drive on the road, and you and I know this just driving cars and, motorcycle, it's getting more congested. People can get kind of snarly with their attitude sometimes, and now you're trying to drive a big truck through that. And for someone like Dwayne, he can't even be in the championship unless he's had an accident-free year. I mean, nothing. And
an accident-free year, people think, well, he didn't hit anybody or whatever. It's much more than that. It means an accident-free time. I mean, you could even, any property damage or anything like that, those are all accidents, right? Yeah, you back into another vehicle and you are out. And so to have these competitors do this, and frankly, that's one of the reasons we do an event like this. It keeps people sharp, keeps them focused. They want to be back there. They want to compete. They want to show their skill. And so it just shows that truck driving is a profession. It's what people choose to do, and Dwayne is certainly among the best of the best. I would like to hear from we should have set this up with Dwayne to ask, because he's been doing this for a number of years now, to kind of get his take on how this business has changed, or because it does continue to change. Let's talk, though, again, I'm talking with John Hausladen from the Minnesota Trucking Association about this need for additional truck drivers, professional drivers. They say one of the reasons retirements that have come up, and there were some people who went away from the profession when there was a cutback, and now they're no longer with it, but also tougher safety regulations designed to get drivers with bad records off the road. Where do these initiate with the companies who own these rigs? Are they the ones who put these tougher safety regulations in? No, there's an organization, a branch of the government called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They're for trucking what the FAA is for the airlines. And they're charged with safety, and so they're always looking at ways to improve the road, and the goals are laudable. But I tell you, as a truck driver, it is getting tougher because there's more and more data now, and that data follows you. Now, if you're a trucking company and you want to bring on the best, that's a good thing because you can make sure you're bringing on good professionals to put behind the wheel. But, for a driver, you're like a professional athlete. Everyone's watching you every day, and now the data is what you're being held against. So some of the standards, put simply, if you have a score that doesn't look as good in a particular area, you may not be as desirable to be hired. And so, again, the goal being safe, absolutely good, but is it good data? Is it accurate? Those are some of the things in my world that we wrestle with on a daily basis, trying to keep it fair for both the trucking company and the driver so they can make a living. Well, there's a reason that most of us four-wheelers, those people driving the cars and the other vehicles around town, don't have that "how's my driving" thing on the backside of our cars.